Yalode Yeyefini. Alafia, blessings, wonderful day. This is the Ask Yeyefini show with Iyalode Yeyefini Efumbolade. Thank you for being a part of the show today. As I come back from 3 months of vacation, as we do annually, and we come back speaking on Oya, on change, on the things that are happening in our lives that require us to go deep. So the year 2020 has given us an opportunity to sit, retreat, define, redefine as we create a new normal for ourselves, our family, community, and the world. And so the the opening of this show today, this episode is I am so excited because as I said, we have to go in and retrieve all of the things that we know that we have, use the medicine to make us who we are and who we want to be. So this episode, we will be sharing very useful information that can assist the listeners in gaining knowledge and finding ways, answers, and solutions from an easy flow. And so the topic we're talking about today is finding value in incorporation of ancient wisdom, traditional teachings, and healing techniques in our daily lives as we evolve to a new normal. Because this 2020 is asking us to show up as a new normal. The conversation around redefining ourselves by going within and looking at some of the patterns, the family issues, beliefs, and behaviors that we have perhaps sometimes overlooked in our lives prior to 2020. Also, we'll be speaking about solutions for the future that can be found in some cases by revisiting our past lives, past soul journeys, past incarnations, past life traumas. And then, of course, we will be looking at how is it that with the new changes that we're bringing together for ourselves, how is it that it's affecting us politically, spiritually, emotionally, through our family, our different souls. So today I'm so excited to welcome my guests. Whew, I'm so excited. Well, y'all know I stay excited. I'm so excited to bring on my three knowledgeable, popular, very successful, respected healers, coaches, therapists, and African traditional scholars, practitioners. Dr. Funlayo Menzies, Dr. Latoya Davis Craig, and Miss Keisha Bowers. So welcome to the show, ladies. Powerful, powerful source. Some of you know. Thank you, and welcome to the show, to the Ask Yaya Feeding Show.
Alafia.
Alafia, greetings again. Dr. Funlayo, PhD, is a scholar practitioner of African and diasporic religion, a spiritual success coach, writer, strategist, motivational speaker, and the founder and director of the ADRS, the African and Diasporic Religious Studies Association, ADRSA, a native New Yorker now residing here in California. Dr. Fulayo holds a PhD in Africana Studies and Religion from Harvard University, where she focused was Ifa Orisha religion. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Dr. Fulayo. You know I'm so excited. I'm gonna
Thank you
I'm
so
gonna
much.
I'm gonna introduce everybody at the same time so that we can just flow. Dr. Latoya Davis, PhD, a healer, Reiki master, and spiritual intuitive. Over 20 years of practice in African traditional religion and earth and energy-based healing. Latoya has developed a healing system that incorporates universal energy plus, trying to get all of this together here, plus crystal-based medicines, and spiritual downloads to offer spiritual rebalancing and guidance. A skilled and proven vessel of spirit, Latoya offers an array of services to help identify where healing is needed and assist the client with receiving emotional and energetic healing and clearing. The owner of Chi Healing Institute, Latoya facilitates an array of group and personal healing rituals, ancestral lineage healing work, and soul realignment work through the Akashic records. Welcome to the show, Dr. Latoya.
Thank you. So great to be here.
Thank you. And then last but not least, we have Sister, most people call her Sister, Keisha Makiba Bowers is a registered clinical social work intern and founder of Movements for Change, where she provides therapeutic services that facilitates emotional growth and transformation. Keisha promotes heart-centered healing and radical self-love as the foundation of her work in South Florida community. The hallmark of Keisha's practice is her ability to educate community members about mental health challenges and solutions with marginalized population. Keisha's own story of transformation and healing creates a sense of trust and transparency amongst her clients. Her passion for healing is based on the reality that we should not heal in isolation, a non judgmental, listening ear filled with compassion. Welcome, welcome, Sister Keisha.
I do pray. Thank you so much, Yeyefini. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so let's jump right in. And the questions, the things that we're going to be talking about is finding value in the incorporation of ancient wisdom tradition teachings. So I know that Sister Keisha has another show that she has to, because she is such popular demand. We're going to ask her to jump right in. And the reason that I wanted these powerful women on the show is because doing this universal timeout, we've had to go in and look at some of the things. And one of the things that I found in connecting with Sister Keisha is the power that she has in connecting us to our child, the young child, your young self. So go right ahead, Sister Keisha, and go right in.
Yes. Well, thank you all for being here. And I'm just going to go right in. We all have an inner child. We all have a part of us that yearn to be loved, yearn to be accepted, yearn to be seen. And it is up to us in our adult lives. And as Iyalode mentioned, being in this retreat mode, being that we've been sitting at home because of this COVID, because of this pandemic, many of us have had so much of our emotional trauma resurface and show up. And we don't make that connection to who we were as a child and what we experienced. And during this time, we are forced to see ourselves, how we are in relationships, how we are with ourselves, what kind of relationship we have with ourselves. How do we speak to ourselves? What do we say to ourselves when we're alone? How do we think about others? This has been a time of what I call the retreat mode. And during this retreat time, the inner child has shown up, and not many people have been able to identify and make that connection to help him or her heal unresolved matters. What are those unresolved matters? How do we know that our inner child may have been wounded or is wounded and that we are dragging that child with us, right? If you often feel unlovable, if you often feel like you're not good enough, if you often feel empty inside, I talk a lot about love hungry. If you're using food to fill the void and no matter how much you eat, it still doesn't feel like enough. If you always or often doubt yourself and struggle with decision making, then you know for sure that there's a part of you who is unresolved. There's a part of you who was crying for love, attention, and nurturing. But in the healing part, which is where we talk about redefining, we come to the acknowledgement that the only person who could give us what we need, the only person who could give to us what we need to be resolved is our own selves. What usually happens in our adult lives is we attach ourselves to other people so they can fulfill those emotional needs for us. Let's be honest. How many times have you projected your feelings about yourself onto others? Oh, you didn't say hello. I didn't like how you said goodbye. You don't make me feel good. You didn't do this. Oh, yeah, well, you should have. Those are really a reflection of what you're working through within yourself. And in this time of retreat, it is time for us to be honest with ourselves about how we show up in the world, how we have to be responsible for how we are showing up with ourselves and with others. So I'm so excited. Yeyefini knows that I love having this conversation. I can go on and on. I don't know if you have specific questions, Yeye, but I brought 10 steps. I brought the 4-prong agenda to healing the inner child. so that we can make it very specific and direct.
Go ahead and give the 10 steps. That's the beast.
Well, I'm going to go into the 4 steps towards cultivating the relationship, because the only way you're going to know if you have an inner child that is, you have to connect with her or him. And so there are 4 steps that I talk about. Someone says, I'm guilty for this because I reassure others, but I thought I was entitled to. That is the part of you that was responsible for making your caretaker feel better. You may have grown up in an environment where you are responsible for making someone else feel good. So you become an adult who finds subliminal ways, sometimes not so subliminal, to please others. You ask first. You need permission to be who you are. You want to get out of a chat and you tell the person, you give an introduction. Oh, I need to get out of the chat. You don't just, our adult selves, we don't feel we need to apologize. We know that we have the right to make a decision. But when we are dragging our unresolved inner child, we overcompensate. We overcompensate. So the 4 steps towards cultivating the relationship, first is you have to overcome attitudes of criticism, rejection, and denial of your child within. So if someone is ridiculing you, criticizing you, you have to develop a foundation for yourself where you know your worth. So when that shows up, it has no value. It doesn't change your feelings and who you are. The next one is to bring out your inner child. Allow yourself. When do you what makes you have a good time? The resolved part of our inner child is who we need to create. That business idea that you have that you're afraid to pursue, that's your unresolved inner child. But if you tap into the whole spirit, and I was at the Reiki conference yesterday, and I have a new language because I also practice Reiki, and I learned that is the ashe of your inner child. That whole part, that's what we want to connect with. The part of us that imagined for hours, that ran through the wind, that made mud pies. We want to bring that out. The next part is identifying the positive needs of your inner child. Here's the rule of thumb to bring out your positive needs. The moment you are going to demand something from someone else, you need to pause and ask yourself, what do you need for yourself? How can you give that to yourself first? The moment you want to hold someone else accountable for not showing up for you, you have to ask yourself, am I addicted to fixing other people? Do I need to make other people be what I need them to be so I could feel whole? You have to start doing what I call cognitive reframing, which I teach that process in my work. And then the last part of the 4 steps towards cultivating a relationship is nurturing your inner child. And this is how Iyalode came into my life. Nurturing your inner child on a daily basis through ritual and practice, which is what I call intentional healing. We have to be intentional with what we feed ourselves. So I wake up in the morning and I have to do Reiki on myself. When my children are out of whack, I have to do Reiki on them too, because sometimes being a parent, my inner child gets triggered and I have to be mindful that I show up as an adult at all times, because it is not my children's responsibility to make me feel better. And we have to think about that as parents. So that's the 4 steps towards cultivating the relationship. I brought 10 steps towards healing, though, because once you develop a relationship with your inner child, then you're on this ongoing journey of healing. It doesn't stop. 9 times out of 10, if we have a wounded inner child, it means that we had a parent or parents or a caretaker who we face some type of abuse. That's like really difficult to even admit to, because we want to idealize our caretakers. We want to see them as, the ultimate people on the earth. And so when we have to admit, we face this sort of cognitive dissonance, and it's really difficult. So the very first step towards the healing journey now, once you develop the relationship, is recognize that they were unable to love you, and that was not your fault. Remove the blame from yourself, because that blame is critical. It weighs you down. That first step is to remove blame and recognize that their inability to love you had nothing to do with you. The second one is begin to see your caretaker, your mother, your father, whoever it was, as they are, not as the person you want them to be. Because now, as adults, if you're holding on to the person you want them to be, it becomes destructive because you find yourself becoming codependent and addicted to changing this person, or you characters that show up in your adult life that mimic your caretaker or your parent, you want to attach to them so you can fix them. You need to lose that desire. So you have to let go and accept them as they are and not as you want them to be. The third step, allow yourself to grieve the loss. Grieve what you didn't have. Give yourself permission to feel those deep emotions that might be painful, but the going through it is going to take you to the other side, and the grass is greener on that side. Number 4, get closer to yourself. The 4th step, cultivating a relationship. You want to be your own best friend. So you're no longer depending on someone else to make you feel better. You are your own best friend. Number 5, and I brought a book for you guys so that you can reflect on it, but you have to reparent yourself. You have to learn how to self-soothe, right? And that's going to birth your inner mother, your inner father in you. The book that I recommend for that experience is Growing Yourself Back Up. This is the book. You all can contact me if you want to get the title, but this book will help you to deal with when you're regressing, how you can reparent and partner with yourself. Number 6, self-compassion is the key. It is necessary for you to be kind to yourself. You have to understand that your inner voice that is critical of yourself, it does not belong to you. It is not of spirit. Spirit feels good, and you have to allow that for your healing. Number 7, set boundaries with those who hurt you. Set some boundaries. It is okay to say no, because when you don't set boundaries, it builds up resentment and anger, and that changes your frequency. That's a whole nother session. We could talk about vibration, energy, and frequency. But what happens is if you're staying in relationships with people who hurt you, your frequency, your energy is getting lowered. So you want to be high vibrational at all times, right? Number 8, the more you love yourself, the more you'll find your tribe. You're going to identify the people who lift you up. So as you love yourself and develop this self-compassion, you will then attract people on that same vibrational frequency. Number 9, be honest about what you've experienced. Denial will keep you trapped. Get out of the denial and be truthful to yourself for your own. You can lie to everyone else, but when you go to bed at night, you need to be journaling your truth. You can lie to everyone else. That's okay, but be truthful to yourself. And the last one, which is very important, seek support. Become vulnerable enough to ask for help. It is necessary. I wouldn't be here if that part of my healing journey was so significant, because I had to be okay with saying, this is happening and I need some help. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening.
Yes, that was awesome, awesome, awesome. I know you have to go, but I really wanted to, okay, good, to connect with this, because the things that you're saying, set boundaries, find your tribe, and denial will keep you trapped. Because if you deny, then you're going to make excuses and make it about somebody else. You're going to make it about somebody else, and you spend all of that energy feeding that and bringing all of your toxic antenna that's going to get you trapped down. Find your tribe. That's what this is. This is a place where, that's what this platform is. Find someone and groups of people that want your highest vibration. All the Ask Yeyefini shows, and you can go back and Spotify and get all of them. We've been on for about 11 years. All of them are about empowering the people to empower themselves. That's what this tribe is about. Anything that works for me, anyone that I've met that is going to be a positive, I want to share it with everyone else, because I know that's who I want to ride or die with. I don't want anybody that's negative and dragging me down. So thank you so much for saying that, for just coming in, bumping it in, and doing the work that you do. Ulaya, is there anyone there that's asking a question directly of Keisha? If not, Tisha, please tell them about your Monday YouTube. That is Amazing. And the program that you have that's starting up this, I think it's this week or this month.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so on Instagram, Movement Mondays, it is where we talk about healing, and it's the same thing. It's about bringing the tribe together to have a really good conversation. You know, we had Lanny Wu, we talked about crystals and Reiki, and we're constantly having, people come on, and we're just talking about healing in an unconventional way. We're bringing the conversation to the forefront in a way where we're not tucking things underneath neatly anymore. We are exposing it because it is the season for healing. It is the season for change. And I love that Iyalode, connected this talk with the season of Oya, because we get so overwhelmed with things being dug up and torn apart, but we have to go through that to rebuild. So that's what the show is about, Movement Mondays, because we can't have change without movement, right? Also, I have a course. It's called Healing the Inner Child from Pain to Purpose. It is a 4-week course, and I'm actually in week 3, which is why I'm going to be leaving at 7:30 for the course. But I'm starting the next rotation on November 15th. I do offer a free orientation where I speak about it more in depth. I talk about the course and ways that people can, join it. It is for women in particular, but my husband and I are working on a group for the brothers. So, we want to bring that balance, and we know that women are not the only ones with a wounded inner child at all, and that we don't have too many platforms to bring men to be comfortable with being honest about what they go through, and so we're just here to do this work while we're on this earth, and I'm just so thankful. I'm thankful to be a part of this tribe, and you all can connect with me on my website that was up. Thank you so much to the goddesses here.
I share. One of the things that I like about your show, is that, and your program, is that you're very gentle. You're very direct. You're not abusive, because sometimes you have these shows where you got to change right now. I'm the word of God. No, that's another layer of abuse.
Oh gosh.
And a lot of us are recovering from all kinds. If it's sociological abuse, society abuse, political abuse, that's what we're going to be talking later. And bringing that and recognizing that you have to be gentle.
Yes.
Because we all have trauma from the day we're born. Back in the day, they don't do it anymore. The first thing that you do is you come into this world with trauma. You have a doctor hold you upside down and slap you. That's trauma. Mm-hmm. Then you're put in a crib with rails, locked. So we are recovering and that's what Dr. Latoya will speak about, is what the trauma that happened to us past generationally that we are trapped and we keep and we drag with us. So this is the tribe. Tap into the little child in you. And Dr. Latoya is going to be speaking about how is it that some of the issues that happened to us in past soul experiences affect us now. Dr. Fulayo will be speaking about expanding how, as African descended people, what is the cry for us? Mm-hmm. What is the cry for us to move through this? Oya, the goddess of change, revolution, entrepreneurship, anything that has to do with getting rid of the old stuff because it no longer works. Leave it at the graveyard gate, meaning leave it at wherever you are finished with it, leave it there. So that as the new season come in and we're looking forward to the new year, you can come in fresh, being very clear, very, very clear. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in here and just throwing it in. And everyone, please, her program is amazing. She's gentle. She's worked with all types of people in this community as well as globally. So thank you, Sister Keisha.
Thank you
for all that you do. And we're looking forward to Baba Damien to come in here with his program with the men. I have about 10 men, some of my clients and students who I've already told about it. So they are biting at the bits to come in, where it's a place that they can come and be well with another man. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Be well with another man. Ashe.
I know there's a question.
Okay.
If you have a codependent relationship because of inner child wounds, should you let it go? Wow. It sounds like you already know the answer to the person who posed the question. And I'm going to trust your spirit in that. It sounds like you already know the answer, but I will say this. Any codependent relationship that we're in, it is because of our own pain. We
Ashe.
attracted that. We need something. It is doing, we don't do things by accident. Everything that we do, there is a result that we're hoping to get. And I don't use the word addiction because it is very societal, judgmental like. I don't like it. So the term that I use is attachment. What are we attaching to make us feel better? Some people attach to sex, some people attach to food, and some people attach to the need to be needed. So,
Yes, that was powerful closing right there.
and I have one thing that I want to say before I leave, because I made a note to myself, and I can't not say it because it's so important. We repeat what we don't repair.
Ashe. Put that
Okay?
up. Ooh, say that
So
again.
we repeat what we don't repair.
Ashe.
It's the psychology, it's the brain. It's just the thing. So thank you so much. Thank you all. I'm gonna have to watch the rewind on this because I got to go. But I love you all. And Iyalode. All right,
Love
y'all.
you.
Love you.
Good to see you, sis.
Yes, Iya. I'll see you soon.
Whew, that was awesome. 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 That was full. You go straight to the child so you can build from there. Because people, love you the way you teach them how to love you. You taught them how to love you. And so this is a time to go back and, regroup, retreat, and apologetically retreat from anything that no longer serves you, for anything that makes you codependent. This is a time for you to just say, okay, oh yeah, give me the energy and the courage. And so throughout this time, well, Dr. Fulaya and myself, when we are doing our midweek recharge, that's what we're doing. It's just giving you that energy, giving you that strength. And I'm doing the ceremonies and the rituals so that we can go through this period with Oya. Though it's Oya's turn, it may be Obatala's day. So Obatala in combination with Oya means Obatala is saying, make sense that everything that's happening to you, you drew to yourself, and everything that's happening to you is interconnected and interdependent of what it is that you need to do to be a high vibrational frequency so that the world can be healed. If not, we look at the politics and the things that's happening on the world and we think that that's our reality. That's the reality of how you think. And in doing that, you're going through and using our ancient techniques for the new normal. That's what we got to do. We got to go in, look at it. And the thing that I know that I'm using during this time is unapologetically. You don't have to explain to anyone that you need some time. Because sometimes we give permission when permission is not needed or permission has not been earned. And sometimes you just need to retreat so that you can refocus, relearn, just as Sister Keisha was saying, in going in and knowing that you can't deny it, because if you deny it, you'll be trapped. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So Sister Latoya, please, Dr. Latoya Davies Craig, please come in and add. And the question that I have for you is, as a spiritualist, priestess, and earth-based practitioner, what can you share with us today that could possibly shed light on some of the underlying reasons? Perhaps sometimes we have feelings, dreams, premonitions, and even spiritual connections to people and places and things that in our conscious mind we don't have any explanation. And how is it that during this universal timeout, how is it that those things affect us, and how we're using traditional healing modalities? How is it that we are connecting to finding wholeness?
Yes, that's a big question,
Yes.
but I'm going to try to get in here and break it down. I think that the last statement that he should close with, we repeat what we don't repair, really is the answer to all of that, right? And so when we start talking about how are we repairing things, I think a lot of times we are thinking of ourselves in this 3D dimension, right? So what am I doing in my day to day? What actions am I taking? What choices am I taking? But if we think about that, all things are connected, right? I don't get to divorce myself. And this also builds on that inner child concept, right? I don't get to divorce myself from the patterns that I developed from growing up with my family, right? My mom didn't get to divorce herself from the patterns and the things that she got from her mom, right? So sometimes we are looking at things and too narrow of a scope to actually manifest change. And so one of the things that I like to talk about and think about really is this, there's the soul, the soul, right? I believe that, and I always preface what I believe because everybody doesn't believe the same thing, right? But I do believe in the idea of reincarnation. And so this particular iteration of myself on this earth plane is not the first iteration of myself on this earth plane. And each time you come back with some of that stuff that was already from that last iteration, right? I know people think of it as, some people say karma, I don't, we're just going to go with, you come back with some of the things, right? And there's also this idea of your ancestral lineage. If we say, right, that I am an amalgamation of everything that has come before me, that includes my ancestors, right? So me being an amalgamation is both, it's a collection of my ancestors and it is a collection of my souls across time. And so I think that sometimes the missing component in fully healing, and fully moving forward, and fully developing the capacity to achieve our best self, right? To be live our best life and be our best self, is sometimes we don't get there because we're not looking at those other aspects of ourselves. Dr. Joy DeGruy, she talks about like the post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? And that's this idea that those traumas that were inherited or those traumas that were inflicted upon us during that time has embedded themselves, and it's been carried down generationally. And so this idea of ancestral baggage or ancestral habits is the same idea, right? So it doesn't just apply to like these traumas that were inflicted upon us from slavery. It literally applies to your ancestry back, from time. And so one of the things that I do, or I provide, the service that I provide is helping clients identify what patterns are theirs, and what patterns are not theirs, right? And what do I mean by that? Sometimes we might be working on a particular thing. Let's say, I have a fear of speaking, right? And I've gone to the Toastmaster conferences or the Toastmaster workshops. I've read my little self-help books. I got my crystals, right? I'm ready, right? And I have fixed this fear of talking in that moment, right? But then the next time it's like this weight, it has come back on me. And so you keep doing these things, and every time you think you've got a handle on it, something else comes back to show you that you haven't got a handle on it. What I found that most times in that case, that is not actually yours, right? It's manifesting through you, right? Because you are, again, the amalgamation of everything that has come before you. And since you are right now the living representation of your ancestry on this plane, that habit or that pattern is coming through you. And I realized that if we get into and look into someone's ancestry, we can actually figure out how that particular trauma or how that habit or that pattern or that need to not talk developed. And so what I do with the client is, in that regard, we go in and we find, how a particular pattern started, kind of unravel it, dissect it a little bit, and then provide some healing so that you are able to move forward without that ancestral baggage, right? So now when you're dealing with it, you're really dealing with it from the you versus from all of the yous that are behind you. And then that same idea applies with our soul's purpose, right? So I came here in this lifetime. There was some trauma that happened to me, 5 lifetimes ago that I didn't deal with. And so I just continue to bring it with me from lifetime to lifetime. My soul is like, oh my gosh, I hope she gets it this time. I hope we can clear this thing up, but we don't. And we continue to act out patterns that we are not aware of, that restrict us from being our best self. And so that is the other service or modality that I really focus on, is like, how can we figure out where the soul is holding on to some things, right? Some traumas, some patterns, some behaviors, and they're not always necessarily bad, right? They can just, I say trauma, but I like to clarify that I don't necessarily mean it to always be trauma, right? Sometimes they're just habits that were effective 100 years ago that are not effective for us today. That are not effective for us today. And so we have to let those things go, right? And the name of my business is All Say Chi, right? Chi Healing, Chi Essence, right? So I believe in this idea of energy, right? Energy is never destroyed. Energy is always there. If you see it, if you don't see it, you're acting on it, it's acting on you, right? And so energetically, right, these things are taking space outside of this 3D reality, right? So our soul, although I'm walking in this 3D reality, the energy from these habits, patterns, traumas, right, they're acting on this larger energetic level. And that's the part that we don't see. We don't see, or we don't acknowledge this idea of energy, right? It's a real thing. And so when we are doing this soul work, when we're doing this ancestral work, that's really what we're tapping into, right? So although, as a medium, I am talking to an intuit, I am talking to ancestors, or I'm talking to spirit, the work is being done on this energetic level, right? It's an energetic clearing. It is there's a doctor, and I can't remember her name because it's not what I do. Don't remember names. But she talks about capsules. She talks about that when we have these ancestral things, that they basically lodge themselves in capsules and make like little energetic capsules that are attached to our aura, in ourselves. And when we go in and we do this work, we pierce, or she says perforate, we perforate the capsule. And that allows that energy to kind of go out and be free. Right. And I process that because I am also a Reiki master. So I process that in this notion of, again, Reiki energy is there, right? But if it's locked someplace, right, nothing can go through it, it's there, right? And so the point that you perforate it and it allows that space, it just creates this energetic space for something else to come through, right? But as long as that thing is locked there, no matter, like, you can get close to it, right? Maybe you can move it a little bit, right? But it's going to come back, right? You can move it, but it's there. So when we talk about, for me, when I talk about this release, this healing, it really is this idea of releasing those energetically releasing those patterns, releasing those imprints, right? Another word that people say is epigenetics. Is really looking at all of those things and how are we able to move through that. Did I answer the question?
Exactly what you did. Okay. That's a whole plethora of questions. Yes. Yes, because you did tap about how is it that sometimes the behaviors that we have, we think is us. And we're trying to get, some kind of analytical thing of how is it that we're going to get it. And it has sometimes the stuff that you're just bringing. So in this moment, while we're waiting to see if there's anyone asking any questions, how is it that you're able, as a spiritual worker, priest, therapist, how can you help your client to shift those
One of the things knowledge is power, right? So we have to start there. If we can't, one of the things I always say is, you have to be able to call a thing, right? And if we can't call it a thing, we definitely can't address it. So one of the things that I do is really being able to help my clients call the thing a thing, right? And that can look different. That takes many different forms. Sometimes people come to me and they're very clear about a particular habit or pattern or something that they want to work through, right? I'm going to give this example of a lady, and I talked about like the speaking, right? This was she was a comedian, but she had a fear of talking. Like she had a fear of being in public, right? And she actually tried to be a comedian to help her get around this fear. And you know, she had said she had done inner child work, like she had done all of these things to deal with this fear of speaking. When she came to me for an ancestral healing session. And when she came, she was like, you know, I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it is ancestral, but I know that I've done everything that I can. Can you tell me if there's something that's ancestral about this? So we go into what I consider an interactive an interactive visualization process, where the client kind of calls in their ancestral team. I, you know, again, using my mediumship and intuitive abilities, I connect with their team as well. And we, you know, they state their intentions because everything is energy, right? And we go through this process. Come to find out, her family was an Italian. Don't quote me on the ethnicities, right? Her family was they were an immigrant group. When they got here, the dad had realized that if he didn't speak up, no one paid him any attention, right? He didn't speak the language. He had an accent, so when he did speak, there was ridicule, there was, you know, debasement, there was all of these things. So the father learned to not speak up. In their house, I can't remember how many generations back this went, but then within their house, the father kind of instilled this fear. Nope, you don't do that. You put your head down, you do your work. You know, if you do this, nobody will bother you. So that pattern cycled, right? So even though now she's in this day and age where that isn't the same thing, right? She speaks good English. If you spoke to her, you wouldn't be like, wait, where are you from? None of those things apply. But she was still carrying that. It wasn't hers, right? It was just it had manifested itself through her in this 3D reality, but she was still carrying that and it was affecting her. So again, through this guided visualization process and my ability to tap in and receive those ancestral stories, I was able to give her the story, right? Knowledge is power. So we have to know why a thing is a thing before we can heal the thing. So she was able to get the story. We did some, again, I use a lot of like cord clearing, cord cuttings, energetic things. It really depends on the person, how energetically we heal it. Sometimes it is involving me sending Reiki to that lineage. It really just does depend. But we energetically cleared that. And then everyone is different. She had some reprogramming work that she had to do. And so I was able to guide her through kind of rewriting that script and that narrative for herself. And, you know, she's good now. So that's just like an example of what that type of session would look like, and how I do that.
Yes, thank you. That's so important because the work that you're doing in using ancient wisdom tradition to teach and to empower, right now, this is a primary time for us to take all the medicine that we can find from every modality. Because what's happening in our homes, as Keisha said, in our homes, in our lives, in our marriages, in our relationships, in our health, this is the time for us to feel safe and to know that if we keep doing the same thing, we keep getting the same results. So it's time to step into trying some things. And that's why I wanted you to come here, to know how people, some of our listening audience, can find that kind of power, really, to heal, and that type of medicine.
Yeah. And, you know, I think the other thing is, and I'm going to answer that question. I think the other thing is I believe that everything that we need is here on Earth, right? They're plants. Plants are our ally if we're able to tap into those plants. Crystals are our allies if we're able to tap into those plants. Why? Because it's, again, this idea of energy. They store and they hold energy. And so I also use a lot of that sometimes with my clients, because they just might not have the necessary energy within them, right? They're depleted in certain areas, and so we kind of have to fortify their particular energetic blueprint, so to speak, with some other energetic infusion. So there's a question that says, if someone dies from a disease in one incarnation, do they have to deal with it again? So the thing with the soul in the different incarnations is that, again, this is we're going to go back to my belief, right? So we are all walking incarnations of the supreme one source, whatever you call that source, right? God, whatever you call it. We are just various manifestations of God walking around on earth. And the reason we come to earth is because you can't experience yourself as yourself, right? If you are everything and all things, there is no way for you to experience yourself outside of yourself. And so we come, the many times and all of the people, right? We come to experience ourselves differently each time. So no, if you had a disease in one incarnation, it doesn't mean that you're going to have it the next incarnation, because in that incarnation where you had that disease, you came to experience whatever it was that you came to experience, right? Does that mean that? So I also believe, dis-ease, DIS-EASE, is some type of misalignment, right? Emotional, physical, spiritual, is some type of misalignment in the body. So are you able to bring that same pattern that caused that disease into this lifetime? Yes. Right. If you were not able to deal with that pattern, to rectify that pattern, if that was a lesson that you chose in that lifetime to come and learn, and you didn't learn that lesson, then that particular pattern can follow you into this lifetime. But because we have choice, right? We have choice, we have free will. You can make choices in this lifetime that nulls or voids that particular pattern, right? And so one of the things that I didn't talk about in the soul, my soul work, it is, how do we clear, some of those past life blocks? How do we cancel some contracts or some vows that we made, right? So that's one of the other aspects, is like, it, great, let's identify it, we can call it a thing. Let's talk about how we are showing up with this pattern in this lifetime, so that we don't continue to make those same choices. And now from this energetic ethereal level, let's go ahead and clear it so that you are free to make new choices. So I hope, does that answer the question?
Are there any other questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Can you speak to what is an Akashic reading? Because that was one of the things that I mentioned in my long thing as to what you do. I want us to get the medicine. This is a powerful how medicine works.
Yeah. So, many people have various definitions. I try to distill it down to the simplest thing. And for me, the Akashic record really is a record. It is the storehouse of all information that exists from the beginning spark of time until this place is no more. Right. Sometimes in the book of the Bible, and the Bible is referred to as the book of life. We hear stories. It's like when you get to do you get to the pearly gates? Maybe, I don't know. You get somewhere and they pull out the book and they're like, "Oh, let me see what you did." That's the Akashic record, right? It is the storehouse of all things. So not just humans. Everything has, because everything is energy, right? Everything has an Akashic record. The dog, the crystal, the whatever. It is how you access the energy or that soul's blueprint or the energetic blueprint of a particular thing and all of its iterations and manifestations across its time here in this place, right? One of the things that I do like to make sure that I say is that although I mentioned it can go, it's from the spark of time until time doesn't exist, because we have free choice and free will, when we start looking at things that haven't occurred yet, those are what we call possibilities. They're future possibilities, right? So the Akashic record is not something that one comes to get like, it's not like for psychic, where you're trying to figure out the future. That's not what it is, because I can make a choice today that would change one of my possibilities in the future, right? But it does tell you definitively all of the things that have happened for you in your past, in various carnations.
Question, nothing else. At this point, I just wanted to also explain to them that there are two different services that you offer, correct?
Yeah, so I offer an Akashic record reading. And in the Akashic record reading, and this is good because I get this call often and people are like, I want an Akashic record reading. In the Akashic record reading, that is more of a, one of the things that I always like to phrase in my sessions is, what does this client need to know now to help move them forward, right? I think a lot of times we get stuck in like information overload, like we want to know everything, right? There's this source that can tell me everything. I want to know everything. And that's too much, right? We don't need to know everything. We just need to know what is the thing that can move us to the next best thing right now, right? And so for me, the Akashic record readings are going into your record and getting information that is most relevant to you right now, right? You can ask questions about what is most relevant to you right now. That's the Akashic record reading. Then I have what I call my soul, like clearing, healing, and purpose. In that session, I use the Akashic record, but in that session, I go in and I'm able to tell you what your divine gifts are in this particular incarnation of your life, what your soul's larger set of gifts have been. Like our soul's gifts go with us from incarnation to incarnation, whereas our divine gifts are what's happening with us in this particular lifetime, and what choices we've made across lifetimes or now that are creating blocks for us from achieving or living our best life, right? So that is so I'm going to actually talk about 3 sessions, right? So one is just the Akashic record reading. We go into the reading, here's some information, you go and you live your best life, right? The soul clearing and healing session, we go into the record. I tell you really about why you're here, right? How those gifts can manifest in your daily life, like when you're thinking about jobs, when you're thinking about how you're showing up places. Are they in alignment with why you came here and the gifts that you came here with? And then we look at those blocks and restrictions that are keeping you from living fully. And then in that session, we deal with how do we heal and remove any of those blocks and restrictions that are showing up. And then I have the ancestral healing work. And so in that work, that's where I am talking to, like, that's that interactive session where we are communing with your ancestral team, right? To identify those patterns that you have brought with you from your ancestral line and working to heal that. With a past life reading, yes. So a past life reading is the same as an Akashic record reading. But an Akashic record reading doesn't have to be a past life reading, right? And so the difference is the past life reading is focused on what has happened in your past life. But remember, the Akashic record is from the spark of time to the end of time, right? So I can go into my Akashic record. One of the things that I do for myself as a daily practice is I go into the record and I say, what do I need to know today to move through the day? right? And so in that session, I am getting, what's going to come up. I'm talking to my guys like, hey, show me what's going to happen. So the difference is the past life only focus with the past life. In the Akashic, you can get past life, but you can also get guidance for the here and the now. So that's the difference.
Oh, wow, that is. Are there any other questions out there? No, everybody's just listening. This is powerful. I'm so grateful, that we were able to get this powerful group together. Because every year during the month of October, I always come back from a perspective of mental health, because it's ripping and tearing us, but also it's the time. It's the fall, and everybody start going in. We're going to start spending more time with our families and really connecting to some of the issues that we have. That during the summer months we can be just free and but once the fall comes in, it's like, okay, we got to put on our winter coats. We got to stay in. We started redeal, and so with us now, with this universal timeout, we've really had to come in and dig in, and that's what I think that why I wanted to my listening audience to be able to have access to you, because the things that you're giving us is another level, another medicine, another way of us finding wholeness, because that's all we're coming on earth doing, is just trying to find someone to hear us, some way for us to connect, someone to recognize and give us a sense of worth.
Yeah.
And that way we are inspired every day when we wake up. So thank you so much for that explanation as to the difference in it. And all of you, please know that, I would not have anyone on here that I have not checked out myself. She is good. And it has able to give me some clarity in my own life, because one of the things that me, I'm very transparent. I mean, sometimes I'm oversharing.
Me too.
I be oversharing because I think it's like I
Listen.
guess we be oversharing. And in my session that I had with you, Dr. Latoya, was that one of the issues that I have of overgiving and trying to give and looking for acceptance, and maybe if I give more, they'll love me more, and if I do flip over backwards, or if I overlook what they said, and the same thing that Keisha was saying, and that's another level, as a little girl, and you look at yourself and what is it? I don't know what, I mean, I have a lovely life, I love myself, why is it that I have to feel that, I got to give so much, and then when you give and give and give and you're not getting back, then you hold other people hostage in your mind.
Right.
Because you're like, okay, they're not giving it back when I need it. Well, they didn't know you needed it. They thought you were just giving it. And when you overgive, you give permission to people to overtake.
Yes.
They're just going to take it. And so that's what I love in that the work that you did with me was to let me know that in one of my soul's journey, I had a connection, very close connection to a woman who was a teacher and a worker with me. And we did spiritual work. And I'm being very transparent here, and she passed. And in her passing, I felt that I could have done more to help her. And so in that, this soul's job, this incarnation, I have this thing with my students and my godchildren that I work really hard. Sometimes I'm like, why do you have to get up? Why do you have to answer the phone when they call it this out? What? Boundaries. And so you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you get all of this reading, you get initiated, you get all of this stuff. And you kind of feel, well, there's something needs help. And so that's what gave me the clarity that in my connecting to that hurt, it made me feel inadequate. As a priestess and as a co-worker with someone that we made a difference in the world. So I overgive, and I was able to recognize as of today, I can change that. I have permission because now I have knowledge. I have the information. I have the tools.
Right.
And so now when I give, I can do a self-inquiry. Why are you doing this? And if it comes up with, then you don't need to do that, because I'm notorious at giving my last. And then looking back at, why did I do that? So it's very, very important for us to know that all of the medicines that we use as African practitioners is so important, because one of the things that I've seen since this universal timeout is that our caseloads have tripled. I know yours has, I know Dr. Funlayo's, and I know Keisha's and mine. People are looking for help.
Yes.
They're looking for solutions. They're looking for assistance at all levels. And so it's so important for us to recognize that some of the stuff we're dragging that we think is us, or something is wrong with you, and you got to find out this psychological damage is done that I have to give. No, it was something in another soul, and enough already. And I didn't share this with you, is that in one of my walks as a palera, one of my eguns that I work with, my Mama Chola, she died from overwork.
Wow.
As a priestess, and she died alone with no husband. She died where her spiritual community just kind of like assumed that it was her job to give. So I didn't share that with you. So that's what I'm telling everybody. She is good. In my personal ita, the first line on my ita says, "Lonely in life, but grand." And I always felt like, why am I lonely? Or was it supposed to say alone in life, but grand? I'm able to recognize, because there is a soul connection that is missing, that I'm always trying to find it and grab it. And it's that soul spiritual work that connects me to knowing that. And because the only way it usually affects me in my priestly work, where I want to give and overgive it. Yes, and help them. And, oh, you don't have to do this. Oh, you can give it to me. And it sends a mixed message. It sends a mixed message, like you're insecure, you're frightened, and it's not that. It's just that I just feel this need to give. Now that I know that it was because of my soul journey, I know I am perfectly and all right, and it's all good. And take that energy now to share with everyone else, that y'all can find help in what your work is. That's me. I just empower the people to empower themselves. So this being transparent is just about being secure and confident enough to know that God got your back.
Yes.
You can't worry about what your reputation is going to be and who you're supposed to be. You come clean, and God finds a place to use you to be creative and to find love and to give love from such a beautiful place where you don't hold people hostage. And if you offend, or you just quickly say, stop, I'm so sorry. Because you realize that you drag in some other crap. You take responsibility for it and you move forward. So thank you so much for that. You are phenomenal. There's other areas of my soul journey that we will talk in.
Yes, I want to also add, so, you mentioned that now right? So when you see these patterns, you're able to stop and say, wait, no, that's not me. Which is why I go to this thing of like, I really think that it's important to be able to call a thing. And in that particular session, the soul healing and divine purpose session, one of the things that I specifically don't do, and you can attest to this, is I don't pull the story down for you, right? So I will list the patterns that you've developed, because I think that although I'm perfectly capable of going to identify what that story is, I think that it takes the power away from the client when I do that, right? Yeah. So I need the client to be able to see how that pattern is showing up in their life, because then they're able to make the choice to stop it, right?
And they know they have the right to stop it. They're not a victim. This is your life. This is your journey. Take it unapologetically. Be your journey. So thank you so much for that. Woo! This is an awesome show. I love my October shows because I come back all renewed and revived from the summer of just chilling. Where in the world is Yeyefini? She's back. Now we're going to speak and we're going to hear from the Dr. Funlayo. In your walk in life as a very knowledgeable educator, spiritual empower, priestess, orator, and global sojourner, what have you experienced that is common to all of us human beings seeking healing and wholeness, especially from an African descendant people How has your work in Ashe Ire and your community, how can you address the fact that socially, politically, racially, uh, um, familiarly, all of that is a giant place that as African descended people, we have to look towards the light as to what's going to happen to us. So, as a professor and as this fabulous and phenomenal educator, how has your platform, Asheire, and your community, how has it been able to help others to find balance when we look at what's happening politically, globally, culturally, racially, sexually, and all of the souls that I teach in my Nine Souls class? Please address that, Dr. Fulayo.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you again, Yalode. You know, it's always a pleasure and an honor to spend time with you, with my sister, Dr. Latoya, of my sister Keisha, who had to depart from us. You all are doing some powerful work, and I too can attest to the powerful work that both of these sisters do. And so, one of the things that I think is very important, and why I love the fact that you are so transparent about your journey, and the same with me, is that folks need to understand that just because we are iyas, yayis, whatever we may be in our spiritual walk, we still need to call on each other and call on other healers to help us in our journeys. And that actually is the most African thing that we can do.
Ashe.
In our African sociology, everybody was responsible for healing everybody else. Especially women, right? Every woman had to know at least one divination system because she was the diviner in her house to check in on what was going on with herself and her family. And everybody did that. And then we would go to others because, just as Dr. Latoya just said, sometimes when we present the answers, we take the power away from the client. We take the power away when we present the answer. It's not about the priest giving the answer, it's about a prompting for self reflection. And that's really what is intended in any type of a divinatory process. It's intended to prompt us to reflect about ourselves. Dr. Velma Love, in her book, Divining the Self, talks about this beautifully, about how the sociological and psychological tools developed by our ancestors, divination is one of the biggest tools that they developed to help us look at ourselves, to examine our own behaviors, to examine as well the things that have been done in the past and that worked and that should be repeated into the future, that help us also to find out the things that are most pertinent to know right now. And so that is all that our healing modalities are meant to do for us. And as Africans, we have so many. And so for me, it's been such a joy to get to relate to the community on these different levels, on the level of healing, on the level of teaching, on the level of connection, because we need, as Yeye mentioned, we have different souls in us, our racial soul, our political soul. We have different aspects of ourselves that need to be nurtured. We have our part of us that needs to have fun. So that's why we always try to keep it fun. And our ancestors did the same thing. They had riddles, they had songs, they had dances, they had plays on words, and all of these things that were meant to bring joy. They had games. Ayo, joy. Something that's considered so important from an African perspective. From a Western perspective, joy is considered kind of superfluous, and work is the thing that we're supposed to be doing, and it's the serious thing. Our ancestors said, no, we have to have joy as well. Because if we don't have joy, they understood that we would get depressed, despondent, that we would have these things go on. I say often as well, our communalism is a big part of the medicine. So, us working with each other and not allowing ourselves to isolate, not allowing ourselves to fall into despondency, not allowing ourselves to lie to ourselves, right? And that's what really it is when we really care about people, right? When we really care about people, we challenge them to be better. We help to push them to be better. We say, listen, as I talked about in prayer and meditation this morning, we say, listen, you seem a little hard. Here, I got a pick so you can pick at that hardness in yourself. Here, you seem not to know what your gifts and your blessings are. Here, I got a shovel. Let's dig those blessings out together so you can see. Oh, here, you seem like you need to gather yourself. You seem a little scattered. Here, I have a rake. Let's help rake ourselves in. Right. And so this conversation is just so beautiful because we're here demonstrating the fact that community is what supports each other. To have a real community that's not just a group of people in the same place. A group of people who happen to be in the same place is not a community, right? A community is a group of interconnected people who care about one another's well-being. And that is the most powerful thing that we have on earth. I see Sister Nandi here, one of my students, saying community is our clothes, our shades, something I say all the time. Eniyan Lashomi is a Yoruba proverb that says people are our clothes. That's how important other people are. And so there are many different blessings in life. Of course, we have Ire Owo, we have Ire Omo, we have Ire Aiku, the blessing of wealth, of children, of long life. One of the most important blessings, as I shared with some of my godchildren this morning, is what we call Okiki Ire. Okiki Ire, the blessing of greeting, the blessing of popularity and of people greeting us as we walk by. Okiki Ire. And it means that we are sufficiently, and not popularity in a superficial sense, but in the sense that we have made enough connections in the world that everywhere we go, somebody is greeting us and say, hey, ekaro, good morning, hey, good afternoon, aboro, aboye, alafia, right? That's a blessing. Having the connection to others is a blessing. And at the same time, exile is death, right? Exile from the community when the community stops caring about you. Right. And so a lot of women I've heard in particular say this, that, you know, sometimes we get accused of nagging our partners, and we'll say, well, look, it's when I stop nagging that there's an issue. Right. That's when you need to be worried. When I stop stop picking at you and stop saying do this and do that, because then that means I don't care anymore. Right. When I'm not trying to prompt you to be better, that means that I don't care about you. And so all of this from an African perspective, again, the most African thing that we can do, the biggest way that we can show love is to help each other and encourage each other to heal all that needs to be healed within us so that we can come together and care about each other, so that, as Dr. Latoya said, we can know what's most important for us to know right now so we can repair it. Because as Sister Keisha mentioned, you know, we repeat that which we don't repair. And so that is the purpose why we go through all of these different modalities, through the therapy, through the divination, through the healing rituals. All of that is meant to help us to examine ourselves and look into ourselves. And so I'm blessed to be able to do this on many different levels at Ashe Ire, and it's why we have so many different modalities. We have the prayer and meditation because we have to, that in and of itself is a type of healing when we're able to call out to the universe and know that we're going to get an answer back. We call out and then we listen for that answer back. And then with the community, which has just been such a blessing, knowledge of ourselves, right? Knowledge is power, as we've said throughout the show. And many of us simply do not have the knowledge of ourselves. We were born into a world and into a system that has sought to keep us from the knowledge of ourselves from the time most of us, we were all the ones that are on earth right now, from the time we were born into it. It's been like that. Hasn't always been like that throughout the course of history, but it's been like that for all of our lifetimes, right? And so putting knowledge out for us to understand who we are, to understand the truth of who we are as a community, as a people, and who we have been. That helps to heal some of these feelings of inadequacy and things that many of us have been carrying for generations. It helps to heal some of that trauma. It helps to heal some of that feeling not good enough. Of course, many of us are going to feel not good enough. Everything in this society tells us that we're not good enough in every way. And then if we're women, even more, right? If you're not attractive enough, if your hair ain't straight, if your skin's too dark, if your butt's not big enough, if it's too big, if I mean, anything, right? Like Chris Rock said, it's going to be a pill for everything. Okay, you're sleepy, you're happy, you're hungry, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too skinny. Whatever you are is wrong, and we need to fix it. Right? That's the idea that this Western world gives us. And then if you don't have money, which it says is everything, and then if you're not white, which they say is everything, right? And so the knowledge, learning our history is a form of healing. Going through these modalities of therapy, all of these are various forms of healing. And it's not just one. One thing that we need to understand is it's not just one. Just like we talked about this morning with all of the tools, it's not just divination. It's not just ritual. It's not just therapy. It's not just Akashic records. It's not just crying it out. It's not only, right? We have all of these modalities. We always say our divinities roll deep. It's 400 plus one in the Orisha tradition. And that's how many modalities we have. And we need to use them all. And then when we branch out into the world, how many modalities does every other culture also have, to where we can now connect with Reiki, we can connect with ayahuasca, we can connect with all of these other modalities that come from other indigenous brethren and sistren around the world, right? And so it is so important to also remember, and this is something that I stress all the time, that we don't need to just pigeonhole ourselves into one thing to say that because we're this, especially as Africans, we the original people. So everything is African if we really go back that far. But, you know, we don't have to say, oh, we can only use Ifa, for example, or only use this mode or that mode. We have access to the world. We have access to everything. And as long as we are approaching each other with love and respect, we can use each other's medicines to heal ourselves with love and respect. And so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. Yes, Jasmine said, find your tribe. This tribe is so beautiful, and we're full of healers, and we heal and work and help each other, right? That, again, is just something I want to stress so much, and why this is so beautiful. Africans are about community before anything else. It is what strengthens us. It is what brings us together. One hand cannot clap very well. One leg cannot run very far. One buttock cheek cannot sit comfortably on the mat. We need togetherness. And so just give thanks for being able to come together and share this word with the people today.
I share. Thank you, Dr. Fulayo. So sweet. Always just making it seem so easy and so smooth. And that's what a professor, that's what a teacher does. She works into the classroom. It's not about y'all failing the test. It's about y'all passing the test. That's what a good teacher does. She's working for them to pass, not against them. What I wanted to speak about, the importance of, and this is what we see here. For me, the word collaboration always rings true to me. That for me is who Obatala is. Obatala is collaboration. When you have the intelligence, that's Obatala. When you have the intelligence to recognize that other people have the same degree of intelligence, then you come to them from that perspective. That I know you have the best interest for me because that's what I'm vibing to you. So when you collaborate with others, you are giving yourself an opportunity to learn even more, but also an opportunity for you to receive and to get more from others. So for me, collaboration is so important. That's why I can work. And what I believe is that when we work with each other, we find, and let me say this before that, you know, Each one of us come to this earth with a different Odu, a different expression of the divine as we walk. Each of us have a particular way of walking this earth. Be it you come from wealth, you come from poverty, you come from neglect, you come from feeling supported, overindulged, whatever. We all have an Odu. And in our walk of life, in our Odu, we all come with something to make this world a better place. When you know who you are as an African descendant or anyone, when you know who you are, you're able to work with others without feeling that you have to compare or disconnect. You find what their blessing is, what their Odu is. And that's why in the class that I teach on Introduction to African Spirituality, it shows us and it tells us how the difference of different types of people. You have European man, you have African man, you have Asian man, and the way that we are programmed, the way that what shows up as our reality is the way we connect to spirit. What God looks like to us. That's what makes us evolved and makes us better or different or equal, is once we know who we are as African descended people, then we can go wherever we want. We can collaborate with all. Because once you know who you are, then you are not coming from a place of disconnect. You're coming from a place of collaboration. Collaboration for me is so important, to get along with others. Yes. We have 5 fingers and they all, by themselves, they have the power to pick up a dime. They have the power. But until they come together, they can't pick it up. They cannot pick it up. So you have to come together so that, one hand washes the other and they both wash the face. We have to work together in community. And that's why I love working with Dr. Funlayo and working with you, Dr. Latoya, is that the feeling of collaboration is so easy because you know who you are. You know who you are. When you know who you are, you don't have to come from, no, that's not me. No, I can't do that. I can't go to no church. If I go to mosque, it's going to burn down. Ooh, Lord, no, if you're not E5, you look at me. You not this. Collaboration. Learn yourself. Then you can walk wherever, because you don't spend time worrying about the other person. You worry about how you are evolving in your Odu. How is your expression? How is your journey? This incarnation, how are you making a difference? How are you contributing to society? That's our main purpose coming on earth, is to make this world a better place by you contributing. Because if you don't contribute, then you're going to be taking. And then you have in some other incarnation, you'll be getting a reading from Dr. Latoya that, you took too much in the last incarnation. So you need to put some stuff back in the cookie jar. So collaboration for me is so important. And I just love working with Ashe Ire and working with Dr. Latoya and working with Movement for Change as women educators. That is major. Because when you look at a lot of the shows and that we have, we find that it's predominantly male. It's predominantly male when you're coming and you're asking for different understandings of how could we improve ourselves? How could we find joy? How could we find laughter? How could we find all the things that we've been speaking about? You find it male. So when I found powerful women, that's my tribe. That's my tribe. I want to work more and I want to empower more. I want to find ways for the younger people to learn how to be like us. That's the work that I want to do this earth. So collaboration is key. Work with all of the practitioners that we shared here on this panel so that you will know that the medicine works. There are different types of medicine. Aspirin don't cure everything. Sometimes you need an antibiotic to go a little deeper. Sometimes you just need to rinse off. Sometimes you need to go take a cold shower. Sometimes you need to sit by the river. But it's all medicine because it's all about you working your Odu, working whatever it is you are spiritually wired for success. What is it that you are looking for? So in our walk as diviners, as priestesses, as shamans, or As women, that is so important to me. Because in the West, sometimes you feel that another woman is your competition. And so you can't collaborate, or you find excuses and you find a disconnect. And then you find us having to fight for the rights of women. We got it. We are nursing the baby, cooking the food, having class. We run things. And we have to collaborate and get away from the concept of feeling that we need a male to guide us how to do it. If you're from African understanding and actual African racial soul, you know that we are matriarchal. The woman has everything. You come from us. Every developing fetus is a female before it decides, hey, yo, I want to come back and, be male. So you start as a female. So that's your essence. Your true essence is to be feminine, to be nurturing, to be giving. So we have to really work with each other, respect each other, women, respect the work that we are doing. And that's why anywhere that I am, I want to uplift women that are doing the kind of work that you're doing, Dr. Fulayo, and that you're doing, Dr. Latoya, and that Keisha is doing with her powerful work. So thank you. So if there's anything else that anyone wants to share, jump in and just run it back together, because this is just the Ask Yeyefini show. You ask so that you can get the answers. And so that's why I'm so happy we're doing it on Facebook, because now we can actually ask Yeyefini, because at one time you couldn't ask. Because when I started out on Blog Talk Radio, you could ask me because I was on there, and for years I would speak to people from Russia, from Iceland. I had a client. And so that was a powerful place to ask. So now we are back to Ask Yeyefini. For those of you who are interested in consultations from Yeyefini, consultations from Dr. Fulayo, consultations, all of the information is there. We're offering. So I just want y'all to let us know what's up on y'all's wonderful smorgasbord of things that you do. Let everybody know what to do, where to find you, what to get involved with.
Well, I have to make a plug here for the upcoming Black Spirit Solstice Summit that's going to be happening December 19th. And these two powerful and lovely women will be some of our presenters. And so we are just so looking forward to it. We live the medicine, and that's what I love about these sisters. Some people, I'm from Harlem, like, don't talk about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. We be about it, and that's what I love. And so we're gonna have a whole day, December 19th, of all the Juju Black folk do. We're gonna talk about Ifa. We're gonna talk about Reiki. We're gonna talk about pendulum dowsing. We're gonna talk about sigils and floor washes. We're gonna talk about different aspects of the medicine and how we use it to empower ourselves. How we use it to bring the light back when it feels dark, because we know that's going to be the darkest night of the year. And so I'm just really looking forward to another opportunity to collaborate. We start with community classes tomorrow. And so you are welcome to visit me at asheeray.com to check out all that I have to offer, and to follow me at Iafulayo on Instagram. Come collaborate, be a friend, connect, and let's use this medicine together. Give thanks. Ashe.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So what's really crazy, I believe that nothing is a coincidence, right? We're all where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, even if we don't recognize it in that moment. And so I'm just going to take this moment to publicly say, I often say, Iya, Dr. Fulayo, as she just said, you don't talk about it, be about it, and we're talking about tribe. No, what are we doing? Right? People talk a lot. Oh my gosh. Especially in this time right now, I kind of am like, there are so many Facebook prophets, and I don't even know what's happening, right? What are you doing, right? We can sit here and talk theory and stuff all day, but how is that showing up in your life? How is that showing up in the life of those that you have been entrusted to help? right? And so I appreciate and I am thankful to be at the table with people who are living and talking and being the medicine, right? Um, we are being the medicine, and so I thank you for that. And I am so excited to be on the Black Solstice. I've watched it and I've attended for years, and so I'm like, yay! I get to be on it. So I will be doing a pendulum dowsing class there because, again, for me, everything is energy, right? And so it really is just how do we pick a way, like how are we going to read the energy today, right? And so that is that. And I can be reached at, so I sell products. I'm going to talk about that. So I mentioned that I study, or maybe it was mentioned in my intro. So I study herbalism and crystal medicine and Reiki. And I've kind of taken all of those things, right? We talked about, sometimes the aspirin isn't enough. You need this, you need this. So we need these different things in our wheelhouse, right? And so I've taken my love and my knowledge of plants and crystals and Reiki and created a healing line called Chi Essence. And so to look at my products, you can find me at shopchiessence.com, where I take essential oils essentially and create great products. And then for my spiritual services, such as the divination, healings, and things like that, you can find me at Chi Heal 2, but TU. So CHIEHALTU.com. And I'm on Facebook, right? So at Chi Essence, no, Instagram, at Chi Essence _1. I'm on Facebook as Chi Essence. And Dr. Toya D. Also on Instagram. One of the things that I study is community, right? So my doctor, unlike your Dr. Palayo, whose research is around African spirituality, mine, I studied community. And I looked at specifically the communities that are what I consider to be self-created communities, right? So there are communities where, by the nature of geographically, right? So it's like, oh, everybody lives on 109th Street and 11th Avenue and up to 13th Avenue, y'all are a community. But what I looked at was diasporic communities that form themselves. And they have like these traits or things that make them community. And why? What are the things that make us gel, right? And one of the things that Dr. Palayo talked about was that traditionally everyone was responsible for healing everybody, right? And so in the research, when I look at these like diasporic, and I say diasporic to mean people who left Africa and kind of landed throughout the Caribbean, South America. So when I say diasporic, that's what I mean. But one of the things that has been consistent when people are saying that they are identifying as a part of being a part of this community is that there's this communal sense of looking after everybody, right? You know that you're not in it alone, right? I know that I can show up with my child and we might not have something, but somebody else there is going to have something to be able to help me support this child. I know that there is going to be a care. There is a sense of care about me that does not only equate to what I can give to the community, right? The community recognizes value in me. I recognize value in the community. And because there is value that we provide to each other, whatever that is, just by being, right? I feel that there is this sense of belonging. I feel seen, right? It's this idea of being seen. And so I think when we're talking about tribe and we're looking for our tribe, right, we naturally gravitate to those places where we feel seen because it is a part, just I mentioned, when I say these patterns and habits that we carry with us, they're not all traumatic, right? Some of them are just the things that are coded in us that we need for survival. And so we naturally want to gravitate to those places that make us feel seen, where we feel communal because it is already coded in our genetic DNA. So that's my tangent. That wasn't about what we're talking about right now. I just want to throw that part in there. So yes.
No, that's everything.
That's everything.
That is everything. Yes. I'm over here taking notes. Don't act like I.
That's right. You see me leaning down, and I'm like,
you cited in mine. So come on.
Yes, yes. So it is
Yes.
what was required. It's for you to just back up. That is community. We are a community here, and everyone that's on there, all of the people that are looking at us at YouTube and at Facebook, and then we'll share it. So it's going to go global. That's what we're doing. We're building a community. So it is. Everything is everything. And so my little takeaway here of what I'm doing, hee hee. My little tribe has been started called Ore IIASK. So the friends of IIASK, because usually I'm very private in terms of opening myself up in not in a negative way, but just opening up to everyone having access to me and some of the programs that I do. So we have a IFA basics that we're doing, and in just step by step, some of the things that I do in my life and with my students, sharing it for those who are my clients, who get readings from me, and that you become a friend of Yeyefini. I mean, the friend of IIASK, my institute, which is International Institute of African Studies and Knowledge. And so by becoming a friend of the institute, you're able to then have direct communication with us, ongoing classes. Once a month, you'll have access to me like this, and we will share, we will grow. We have speakers that will come in. We have class, just a phenomenal thing. Because what I've found doing this universal timeout as a priestess, there are more and more people needing our service, but I had to find new ways of doing what I do for a greater audience. And so that's why I tried this. And of course, I was encouraged and inspired by the Ashe family that Dr. Funlayo is always saying, yeah, you don't need to be doing anything else. You can just recycle what you know, because you've been in this thing for over 50 years. And she just keeps telling me that. So instead of me saying, oh, I need to, and that's my overgiving again, I need to get some more YouTube up for Meaningful Monday. Oh, I got to get out of here. No, have a place where what you do every day, people know. And that's the community. That's your tribe. Because I have a tribe. I do so many readings during the week that the people are like, can we get more without having to go get a reading? I'm like, oh, we got to make an appointment and all of this. So you have access to the tribe. And my tribe works with Ashe tribe. So you can belong to both tribes. You go to auntie and you go to auntie, and they all come together and make you a good person. So become a friend of, Yeyefini. Go to yeyefini.com. And then my classes are starting in October. Be gentle with me, y'all. I'm still working through the kinks of Yeyefini at yeyefini.thinkific.com. All of my classes are there. I'm just doing the same classes that I've done before. Mediumship training, which we're going to our retreat next month. But the new class, which is a 6-month program, that starts in October. My mediumship training for everybody that feels, if you're empath, if you see dead people, all of those, you're able not to, don't get scared by it, and allow yourself to know that it's part of your reality. So we have that. We have the SEI program, which is Self-Empowerment Intensive Experience. That program also has a retreat for 4 days, for 5 days. And that deals with healing 7 generations of things that you brought. So that's why I'm very interested in speaking with you, Dr. Latoya, to see how those two can incorporate, because we've been doing it. I got possessed in a cave in Jamaica, and they gave me this process that I've been using for over 24 years. And so now it's time to take it to another level. And I love collaboration, and when the time, it always shows up. It always shows up. So it's time for me to take this, because everybody that's gone through SEI have been asking, when is the second level? People want more. Okay, so we found out this about us. We got our name. We got all of this stuff. We want more. So here we are creating level 2 of SEI. People that have gone through it over 20 years ago are still finding the benefits. And you can see it on my new website. My new website is coming up within the next few days. Y'all are going to love me. Love it. I got some new pictures. It's on point. Of course, you have access to me on Wednesdays with Dr. Fulayo, where we do the Wednesday recharge, and we off the chain. We're like, yay! Because both of us are special about the lives. And so those are the things that I'm doing. And since y'all know that I'm going to be on the summit, let me let you know, I'm going to be talking about Oshun Ibuaye. How as a spiritual person, priestess, organizer, big people, wonderful people, how to get that connection with your divine partner, how to find divine love. And so that's what I'll be talking about. The journey of finding divine partnering. It's how is it that you, and all of the things that we've spoken on today has a part of it. How do you connect to your little girl? And is it tying back to the experience you had with your father? How do you, are you dragging things from another incarnation that makes you feel that no, you're not going to find love this incarnation? Or is it a cultural thing that you feel that to have love, you have to have it under the guise of a marriage, of a wedding? All of those things are going to be addressed, and how to find, and that you're never too old. And that's some of the myths that we learn, that we hear sometime in our African descended community of spiritual practitioners. You're never too old, you're never too tall, you're never too dark, you're never too smart, you're never too ignorant, whatever it is that tells you all of that stuff from all of the realms that we were speaking about. I'm going to be talking about how to make it work, how to find your divine partner, and how that person makes you better by just bringing up stuff that you got to deal with. You just got to learn new ways, and not pointing the other finger at the other person, but taking responsibility for what they bring to you, because they are going to take you to the next level. So those are the things that I'll be talking about. And Oshuni Buaye works. It really, really, take it from me, it works. So that's that's what's happening with me. So go to yeyefini.com for more. Go to yeyefini.thinkific.com for any more information that you want. Sign up if you want a roots reading, you want a reading on as a matter of fact, I'm doing a wedding next Saturday, a wedding on Zoom. Can you imagine? I'm doing a naming ceremony. So if you want all of those services that we offer, yeyefini.com, you can get all of that information, roots reading, all of that good stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Last parting words, Dr. Funlayo, last parting blessing or words or song, because I know you have a collection of music that you be playing over there.
Well, we just give thanks, and again, we give thanks for you, and of course, what better to play us out than you. Yes, we give thanks for friendship and collaboration, and we just tap into this energy of Obatala as our friend, and of the comforting blanket of our fellow people that covers us. And we just always pray for you to all to be able to tap into that, and to always be surrounded by wonderful, like-minded people. And we just invite you to join our tribes and connect with us, and send you blessings.
Dr. Latoya, your last benediction.
Yeah, I just, I think that it's important that everyone knows that you are enough, right? How you show up, when you show up, where you show up, you are enough. And that if the universe doesn't say no, right? So if you put the intention out there for healing and connection and upliftment, whatever that intention is, know that you're supported in that, and that it's okay to need an aspirin, and to need some essential oil, and to need a rock, and to need a leaf, and to need some dirt, right? Because nothing was created with only one thing, right?
That's right.
And so it's okay to go and collect those various parts back to bring yourself whole. There's nothing wrong with you taking the steps that you need to be whole. And that's my thing. So thank you all for joining us. Please share. This ain't even my show, but please share it. Because I think that we said a lot that is useful. And for me, I learned a lot here tonight. And so I hope that you all enjoyed it. And thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening. You got my music on? I know I didn't ask you to put it on, but That's about that. Open the doors for me, Baba. Baba. Bàbá mo fẹ́ yín o, àdúpẹ́ o bàbá, àdúpẹ́ o bàbá,
Adúpẹ́ bàbá,
àdúpẹ́
adúpẹ́
o
bàbá,
ọba
ọba tàlà bàbá mi o,
oríṣàlá
ọ̀ṣàlà
òré mi o, ọba tálá
ọ̀ṣàlà
bàbá
bàbá
mi
mi,
o, oríṣàlá
ọ̀ṣàlà
òré
bàbá
mi o,
mi,
ọba tálá
ọ̀ṣàlà
bàbá
bàbá
mi
mi,
o, oríṣàlá
ọ̀ṣàlà
òré
bàbá
mi
mi
o,
o,
ọba
ọba
tálá
tàlà
bàbá
bàbá
mi
mi
o,
o,
oríṣàlá òré mi
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Ọbàtálá bàbá mi o, oríṣàlá mo fẹ́ ra o. Ọbàtálá bàbá mi o, oríṣàlá òré mi o.
ọba
Ọbàtálá
tàlà
bàbá
bàbá
mi
mi
o,
o,
oríṣàlá mo fẹ́
ọ̀ṣàlà
ra
bàbá
o.
mi o.
Àṣẹ o, àdúpẹ́.
Adúpẹ́, 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 adúpẹ́.
Ó dàbọ̀, everybody.
Happy
Ó dàbọ̀, ó dàbọ̀.